Well, that is in fact the topic of today, and this particular panel really is wondering about the future MSS, be that the MSP that offers the services or vice versa. I'll tell you what. Then let's go back to Sean. Sean, this cloud on-prem debate, has it been solved? It was a bit of a provocative question. And is there a future for a managed service if everybody's moving to the cloud? Sean, what do you think?
Sure. I'll answer a few different pieces to that. So I always say there's sort of like three levels of IT or technology providers in the world. There's sort of your suppliers or manufacturers. So you think about the AWSs, the Microsofts, the GC, the Googles, and the 800-pound gorillas. If you're watching what's happening in the MSP space right now, they have all moved their model to following the managed service providers and saying, hey, you guys are going to help drive what we consider the term consumption of our technology, whether it's Google Docs or apps, or it's Office 365 or Azure, versus them partnering with the traditional VARs or even potentially ISVs. ISVs are good because they then build their platforms in those clouds, but I think the real answer is that yes, we will lead the charge as the MSP. So we're actually really attached to those guys more than we ever have been through some of their platforms. So I'll stop there. I won't get into the tools specific, but I'll just say that the manufacturers are changing significantly to partner with the MSPs. I think the cloud topic, and we have it every day. What we're seeing now different is we're having a lot of conversations around what we call like data now. Like to survive as a business, it's not us as technology, but to survive as any business, we believe that as your workforce becomes more disparate, work from home, or just basically we do work a different way now, people want access to data that much quicker. So the cost conversation around cloud, I think, is, at least for us, it's been out the door. We don't really talk so much about that. We talk about the benefit of once we get that gold or that rich data into the cloud, what can we do to produce the intelligence from the different platforms we own in our business to give us, ways to make better business decisions. And you'd be surprised how many people realized when they went remote and worked from home, how many, where they used to be able to run down the office, and say to somebody, hey, what do you want to do about this? Is that sales deal coming in? How is finance looking here? They can't get that data anymore as quickly. So the cloud makes sense for them to aggregate that data and then ultimately produce the BI.
Well, that shift then, I wonder, is it causing you as an MSP to need to be more flexible? Just as you would go to a SaaS provider and say, oh, you've got to be flexible. You can't just offer these solutions in this 3-year bundle because things change. Has it forced you to need to be more flexible?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we talk about the 4 levels of business we do, 40,000 foot view, kind of like the airline, right? What is the business trying to solve, the problem? And if you can't get that out of and business owners, we're encouraging the CEO, CXO of some sort, not only the CIO and IT guys, to get involved anymore. Like, tell me what you want to achieve from a business perspective, whether it's insights, whether it's better workflow management, whether it's, what we call employee lifecycle management right now is big. How do I bring onboard and offboard an employee, whether they're in an office or not? And how do I do that in an automated way? So 40,000 foot, if you figure that out, and all the way down to 40,000, which is sort of the solution, the 20,000s, the product, and then sometimes the 10,000s, the tools within the product. So we don't talk about Office 365 or Teams necessarily. We're trying to figure out what problems it solves, or what the business is trying to solve. So it's just a different conversation we're having. And yeah, we are building what I would call customized solutions that we wrap our managed services around for the customer.
And I guess that would lead to basically a solution for the current crisis, but also the next crisis, whatever it might be, which is ideal. Eric, you're most definitely not an MSP, so in a way you can be more neutral between all of the panelists. I don't know, maybe everyone's neutral, but is this cloud on-prem debate solved? Is it solved?
I think it is. I don't think that there's any question that people are moving to the cloud. Going to microservice architecture for monolithic applications is a need. We talk about resilience in the purpose of this. The cloud is resilience by definition. The economies of scale that you can glean from a Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, Azure, AWS, whatever it is, it pales in comparison to what entities have now. Shifting from capital expense to OpEx, That's another huge reason. You can bring the business on board, the CFO aligned with the CIO and the director of IT that has to manage all this. You can spin stuff up when you need it, and you can shut it down. I don't see much reason for on-prem. I've been dealing with this now since really 06, 07, when I was in healthcare, and we would do colos. Those of us that were bleeding edge and knew the cloud was going to be replacing the client server architecture on-prem. We've been working with this now for going on 15 years. I don't see any arguments today that would rationalize an on-prem solution, especially when it comes to resilience, cost effectiveness. Now, I will also say this. I'm getting old enough to remember when we had mainframes and thin clients, so we had the distributed architecture. Then we went to the desktops and the client server in the data center. Now we're going back to a mainframe, and it seems to be a 20-year pendulum. So who knows? In another 5 or 10 years, may the pendulum swing back? When the millennials start to take over the office of the CISO and the IT directors, do they want to move it back? Potentially. But for now, we all need to be learning about the cloud. We need to understand the differences. We need to know how to deploy it for our customers. And we need to know how to solve their problems in a cloud world.
Definitely. Even if it's not solved, or if it becomes unsolved, we need to learn. Rudy, what would you say to that? Were all of your customers cloud ready, or has this debate been solved, Rudy?
I don't think the debate is really going on versus cloud versus on-prem within service providers. I think the service providers that will succeed are those that can be flexible enough to keep providing the right solutions based on the business needs of our clients. So if their business is requiring data access from certain locations or certain security compliance, if we can provide that service and be the consultant that you throw the project to, and we are able to find the right solution, whether it is on-prem, utilizing a already invested infrastructure, or if you're building out an infrastructure, does cloud make more sense? That flexibility to be able to work with the vendors, work with the employees, and then work with the C-levels to make that decision that makes the right, that makes more sense on a business decision. Not, I like Microsoft, so I'm going to push this technology on my clients. I think that's where we're looking at the future service provider, and that's why we're adding more and more services, but we have to be the ones getting trained up on, if we do bring voice over IP, or we do bring in, or we're replacing, legacy systems, how are they going to work in this environment, this new normal environment that requires access from almost anywhere on a secure and mobile first platform. So that's what we're trying to do, is really bake in these best practices. And now the government will be pushing more compliance on certain customers, so we have to be able to step up our game and make sure that we're compliant as well. So we want to create a harmonious kind of workflow for vendors, employees, service providers, and really get the job done. Because at the end of the day, we want our clients to do their work. We want our clients to adhere to their business goals.
No, I fully agree. Well, for our next question, why don't we not repeat what I've been asking Sean, Eric, and Rudy? Because from the audience, we have quite a nice question from an anonymous attendee, which I'll put to Thomas. Is there a trade-off to economies of scale where SMEs may be driven to fit their business to suit managed service solutions, as bespoke options may be challenging? And are we going to see similar drivers with the cloud, where standardization would reduce diversity and options for smaller businesses? And this, I suppose, is looking at the smaller MSP rather than the giant national MSPs. Thomas, what would you say to that?
That's a hell of a question. That's what I say. But so to that particular point, let me just try to summarize it. So basically, what is the drivers for the small MSP that basically he's asking for? I just want to be sure I understand. I want to understand it correctly.
That's right. And whilst, of course, there's economies of scale to put your hope and trust in an MSP in the first place. What about the smaller MSP? Where can they really thrive?
So I think where the smallest MSP can really thrive, and I think Sean had a very valid point, to be business pro and technology agnostic. And what do I mean by that is this. You need to go in as a consultant with the small MSP, because I work for one of the largest MSPs in the world, and everything is cookie cutter. I don't care how they tell you that, we're customizing it. It's crap, because they can't do it because they're too large to do that. They don't have that flexibility. So where you win as a smaller MSP is being a true consultant, meaning go in and understand the business processes, understanding where the pain points are at, and find the technology that matches them exactly. Like for my company, we're not a large MSP, but where we thrive and where we do very well is we're very technology agnostic, meaning that we design systems specifically to our clients' needs. So maybe we got plenty of manufacturer clients. So some of the debate is on-prem servers, cloud servers. Well, we do a lot of what we call hybrids. So you have folks who manufacturers run CAD, right? So it's almost cost prohibitive to them to get a cloud server, AWS, whatever it is, to run some type of CAD software that has the fat graphic design cards. It's insane, the cost. So how about we keep the CAD on-prem? We keep it with some high-power PCs. We have a server that can handle all this data. We put a good business continuity strategy in place. Then we can move the rest of your back office accounting and everything else to a cloud. You don't see too many large MSPs having that focus and capability. The reason being is because they don't want to manage that crap. They don't. So where you're going to win in this is being able to have the foresight, the knowledge, and understanding on how to solve your clients' most pressing issues, which most folks will say, oh, no, just go to the cloud. It's going to work fine. Oh, no, you need to stay on-prem. No, you don't do that. Design a specific solution to that particular player.
Yeah, and Thomas, I have to agree with you 100%. I mean, before I said cloud, hybrid counts for me in cloud. You're not going to want to put CAD or certain heavy applications in the cloud, but utilizing the cloud. I think you're spot on. Do it from the consulting standpoint. Be a trusted advisor. Be an advocate for your client. And whether you're big or small, I've been on both sides of the fence, and I've worked for huge companies like IBM, and I've worked for tiny companies like XIO Storage. And you need to know what you're doing and who you're doing it for and why.
Correct.
And then just be trusted. And don't throw Microsoft out for everything or VM for everything or Oracle. What do they need? It's not what's about us and what we get for it. It's what the customer gets. And then I believe in karma that it's going to come back on you anyway because you're doing the right thing. So
absolutely.
Fantastic. We'll wait for a VMware to come and become current, Eric. I think VMware is in the audience as well, which is good. Jonathan,
I'm hoping they do something different because I got some money into them. So,
Jonathan, so different perspective again. Has this cloud on-prem thing been put to bed, and then what would you see as the MSS of the future looking like? Many people have put a VAR, a value-adding, reseller out there. What do you think, Jonathan?
Well, I think that the significant issue that I see between the two issues is one of security and how security gets approached. Frankly, we think that, and I'm going to caveat this, a appropriately configured and tested cloud environment can provide significant security advantages. The problem is that in many cases, what most clients we see miss is they expect too much from their managed service group. They believe that the MSA is going to handle all aspects of computing, whereas in many cases, it can be quite limited. So part of the area that we focus on when we're talking to in our pre-assessment folks is having a discussion with the providers to understand A, what your crown jewels are, B, what regulatory issues you're going to face, and making sure that you've had the discussion with the MSP to talk about how those are being secured. As a practical issue, part of where we see the conflict showing up is the MSP is trying to achieve economies of scale in order to be able to provide a good cost-effective solution. So some of the smaller practical issues, such as how passwords are handled, how access to systems are governed or tracked, can in often cases not be fully detailed like you might have in your own controlled environment set. Too many times people forget to talk with the MSP about how are you going to track our password controls? Who are you going to give access to? What internal logging do you have to be able to track who's accessing our systems? Because unfortunately, what we've now seen is the attacker groups are targeting managed service providers, because if you can obtain good credential access to an MSP, you get access to hundreds of other companies. And so that internal filter, that internal piece of security is, I think, also one of the critical differentiators on this small versus large discussion. So to kind of circle all this back, I think security becomes a critical factor in deciding where and how you want to implement cloud versus on-prem. I think a hybrid model can be very effective, but it's going to add two separate sets of security evaluations and structures into it. And people have to remember that your managed service provider is there to provide IT service function, not necessarily security functions. Those are things you need to ask for, contract for, and plan for.
No, that's
So
good.
can I segue onto that? And very good point, Jonathan. And just want to put it out there for those who are MSPs as well as who are maybe looking for MSP. Make sure that you actually have a functional standard operating procedure document in place. And all that simply is a document that's in place of saying, how do you effectively store passwords? Do you meet certain compliance, if it's HIPAA, FERPA, FINRA, or whatever it may be? And just be sure that, you know, that MSP understands those rules and policies, because I see it all the time. I win most of my clients because some MSP screwed up, especially from a security standpoint. And when I look at it, it's just, you know, they're a good MSP for maybe a mom and pop with 1 or 2 computers, great. But they start getting to 30, 100 computers, they're not good for that, because at the end of the day, they don't understand the proper procedures to effectively secure that environment. Like we deal with healthcare, my company, and we deal with government, you know, federal government, NSA, as well as the VA, Veterans Affairs. So we understand what's necessary, and that's why we have a standard operating procedure document in place to articulate that to our clients during the kickoff. Say, hey, this is how we're going to work. These are the people who's authorized to make changes. These are people authorized to even access your information, both on my side and your side. And if you don't have that, then yeah, you're right. It can be the Wild West, Jonathan. It can get really scary.
And I think what's also critical here is just because you've outsourced your IT doesn't mean you've outsourced your own responsibility around identifying and focusing on security. Now,
Absolutely.
an MSP can be a tremendous resource to help you with that, but it's not an automatic give. And I've just unfortunately seen way too many folks get a cloud environment set up, and no one does any configuration for security. And the end result, a easy breach with no log data to identify how and when it can be structured. And this brings me to my last key point here. Logging is critical and key and important, but people don't like to pay for it. It's expensive. It takes space and it takes configuration structure. But I can tell you, the value of detailed logging allows you to determine what was touched, what happened in the event of an incident, which can significantly reduce response, investigation, and mitigation costs in the event of a breach. But no company can effectively manage logging themselves unless they have a significant, large, and structured IT team. It is a great thing to outsource, provided you've had the security conversation.
Fantastic. Well, we've stuck on the bottom of my screen with Thomas and Jonathan. Why don't I ask closing statements from Rudy, Eric, and then Sean to reflect on that. Basically, just a short closing statement and your MSS of the future vision. Rudy, what's your vision?
Vision, like I said, is for the future is a flexible technology partner that advises, works directly with clients to achieve their business goals, you know, while utilizing their technology investment. So that could be technology is constantly changing. So do we as service providers. We're constantly trying to learn whatever the next cloud or whatever the next technology is, and we will stay on the forefront to advise our clients. You know, even more now, we're bringing in, you know, different security where I envision in the future there's going to be much more hybrid providers of MSP and MSSP, where we are baking in the security to our managed services. And, clients will see that from single providers, or at least partnerships that bring in that from the get-go. And it's not going to be a choice. If you want to secure your systems, you have to secure your systems to work in. And we see this with compliance. If you have to adhere to certain compliance, then you don't get around it. You actually have to get it done and do reporting. So that's my vision. And for me and my clients, we try to create a process flows and harmonious relationship of vendors, from the vendors we're buying from and we're representing or reselling to our team, and then our clients and their end users, to make sure they're able to get their work done efficiently and under budget. So that's from me. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. And then just briefly, Eric, your vision.
Yeah, I was just going to take some notes on it. I like what Rudy was saying, and it gave me some buzzwords. I think that the MSS of the future, and really for all technologists, is agility. We need to be able to move fast. With machine learning coming, with AI coming, quantum computing, these things are all going to play a major role in our line of work. And
totally agree. Yep.
I mean, we've been around for now 30 years. I've been doing this, and I probably have another 15 or 20 in me. And there's as much learning in front of me as behind me. And so I think that that's something that's very important for everybody to understand, is you don't just get to learn and sit on your laurels. We need to be fast, agile, dynamic, and educate ourselves and be there for the clients.
Brilliant, lovely sentiments. And Sean, you have the final word. What's your vision for the MSS of tomorrow?
Yeah, I would say, the word is perfect managed, and anything we do from a tool programmatic perspective needs to have something that whether we're an MSP or we're an internal IT team, I just think we need to be able to have some way of centralizing management over whatever it is we're dealing with, whether it's security and the services that are, many layers thereof, whether it's cloud, everything's moving to utility-based way of buying and consuming data, and ultimately taking that data and producing it. So how do we manage that data, manage clouds for our customers so that we retain those customers? I think really, everything is going to be around figuring out how to centralize, better manage, and ultimately that's where the MSP is going to play, and the internal IT folks. And frankly, I believe we're going to get to the point of where tools that are managed tools of whatever they may be will be able to be tools that a CFO or even a CEO can manage. Or we're going to see more involvement from people at that level going, hey, I can take the data I'm seeing through these platforms, security, utility, usage, whatever it might be, and be able to actually manage at the top. So it is interesting how the morph of the IT person and the executive is starting to really come together. We're seeing a lot more of the CIAO, Chief Information Administrative Officer, or conglomerate of the two of some sort or another. So I would tell executives not to be afraid of technology. There's a lot more that's there at their fingertips if they really just want to invest the time in understanding what's there. So that's kind of where we're headed with it.
Wonderful. Well, we are now over time, but I wanted to leave it a little bit longer to bring out all your thoughts. This is a fantastically diverse panel from different sized organizations. So please give Sean, Eric, Rudy, Thomas, and Jonathan a big round of applause, virtually.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I'll see you in the audience.
Cheers.
And Mike's clapping, Anya's clapping, Sando's clapping. Yes, lots of clapping, which is really good. I will see you very soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And funnily enough, I saw an interesting article on LinkedIn. It said, why do we wave goodbye on Zoom? And I think the answer is, it's truly a good method of communication. It's truly a good method to network and get together. So why not? We need to do a lot more of that in this particular time. Now, I'm very pleased to welcome to the stage Dr.